I swore that my flat was going to burn down because I was running so much power through the CPU, and then the GPU just couldn't take it anymore, and it just all fizzled out for 3 hours. It was up until now really like the scariest moment I've ever had.
The Little Root Lab is a homegrown, self-learning journey into IT and cybersecurity, narrated by Simon Arnold. It is being built from the ground up, documenting progression through systems, networking, and SOC concepts as it develops, including the mistakes, the learning process, and the real-world growth that comes with it. It is hoped that viewers find value in the series and are able to take something useful from the journey as it unfolds. Enjoy.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of the Little Root Lab with your host Simon Arnold. Now it's the 6th of May 2026, and this series really documents my process of going from absolutely no idea about computers to within 4.5 months of continued self-learning and homegrown experience. I've managed to actually have interviews for SOC analyst positions, tier 1, so the junior level. And this particular episode today just talks about how it all started, my passion for Python, my qualms a little bit about using PyCharm, going deeper into other areas then slowly, and how Metasploit pretty much ruined the game for me, and many things in between. So you're very welcome here, and if you're someone that just likes to put things together and try things out, and perhaps you're not on the right trajectory in your life, maybe this just inspires you to try something new, and who knows, something may work out for you. So thank you very much for joining me today. Let's take a journey back to the 4th of November 2025. It's just over 6 months ago, and I had been very busy, and I was on a bus back home, and I saw an advert on the bus that was 2 weeks prior for IT systems at a local college for 3 years, and I thought, wow, wonderful, I think I'd be pretty good at that, and applied, and was so eager actually that I phoned them up the next week to ask if I could possibly come onto the course, and didn't hear anything for a while. Meantime, I phoned a friend up of mine at the time, and he said to me, why don't you try Python? And I said, well, wait a minute. I've got to get internet first because I've only got hotspot, and even to this day there's no Wi-Fi into the home, and there's no glass fibre at all, even though we do have a glass fibre box here in southern Germany. They're very, very slow, but I've made substantial progress. So this is what I did. I spoke with a friend of mine on the 4th of November, and we had 5 conversations going backwards and forwards. It was wonderful, and I ordered a digital box with Wi-Fi, and got it on the 7th of November. Now the 7th of November was a game changer. I loaded up PyCharm on my MacBook Air actually, and I understood the command line straight away. It was like a long lost friend, to be honest. The different colours, I think I started with greet, and just following through, just understanding Python over a 4-day period, and I was starting to write scripts after 4 days. And it took me by surprise. It took it took the friend of mine completely by surprise as well. And I said, you know what, I think this is for me. And I've never looked back since, really. So, was there an aha moment? Not really. I mean, looking at Python, looking at the command line, looking at the different colors there, it just made sense, right? And yeah, that was on the 7th of November. And well, I only had my MacBook Air, and I thought to myself, okay, how are we going to go forward? So what I did was really resurrect my MacBook Pro from 2013. I'd recently bought a power cable for it because it lay dormant without being used for a year and a half. And I thought to myself, in speaking with a friend of mine back then, really, how can I go forwards? Can I actually use that as a lab computer? Can I, install something different on there? Because I wasn't entirely happy with Mac OS, and I've heard about Linux. And he said, of course. So what happened really was I ordered a USB stick, and yeah, I flash drived using Balena and Etcher Ubuntu that was 24.4. And I tell you what, it made for a wonderful Christmas when it was first of all my birthday coming up at that time, and using Ubuntu was like a completely different world. I mean, wow. I mean, it wasn't Plasma, it was GNOME, and just absolutely wonderful. And I mean, the point of this podcasting really is really to document my journey from zero, and I mean absolutely zero computer knowledge, up into getting interviews, for cybersecurity positions, really. And I just wanted to say to everyone out there, you could possibly do it too when you find a skill set that absolutely, you align with. It's wonderful. So things were coming together. So yeah, Ubuntu was alive and kicking, to be honest, and I realised that I wanted to actually get an Apple keyboard and try out the Bluetooth. And I ordered one off a German second-hand company. Got that sent through. I think it cost about €19 or something like that. And it worked. It was fantastic. The Bluetooth connection was there. I was able to use basically the computer if I wanted to in clown mode. I mean, I had the laptop open, I could use it, and I thought to myself, I'm going to need another monitor. So the next week I was looking online, Amazon. I've heard something about a pivot monitor. You can probably hear actually that I had absolutely no idea in November, about really what anything was, to be honest. I didn't even know how email worked, All I knew, and for the people that know me, that I didn't have a clue about computers. So I saw that pivot monitor, just the adapter, cost €40, and it's going to cost me loads for, a monitor, and I thought, I'm out of luck here. So I went down a second-hand store in my area, and funny enough, went to get a couple of DVDs about, I think it was, Social Network or something. I wanted to, watch some DVDs on the side and just get into the spirit of it all, really. And I checked the electronics department in this second-hand store, and there was nothing there. Went to get the DVDs, and the lady said, we've just got a monitor in. We've got one monitor that's just come in. And I said, I think that's mine, without even looking at it. So I went over, and it's a Samsung Sync monitor, SA 850, I think, and it's a pivot monitor. And I tell you what, no one ever saw me again for the whole of November. I was pivoting that monitor round and writing Python scripts to the cows come home, and I had so much fun. I'd already ordered a Thunderbolt cable with DVI, attachment as well, and it was brilliant all the way up until Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve came along. I thought to myself, I think I'm ready to use Metasploit, and was following some YouTube advice on Metasploit, and even in just the startup phases of Metasploit, everything went to pieces. So it was Christmas Eve, great mood. I thought to myself, right, let's get Metasploit going. Let's do this. Command line open. I was up to speed with Bash and Nano, and I dumped PyCharm off the MacBook Air because I just couldn't see anymore. Even I think it was like after 7 days, I couldn't see like the AI help that I was getting just to fill in the lines on the command line. I wanted to do scripting myself. I mean, by then I was writing scripts and just sharing it with a friend of mine, and he was like, wow, you're spot on. It's really good. And I'm not sure entirely what I did with Metasploit, but I run some kind of code, and everything got loud, everything got really hot, and I kept going. I thought we're going to push this to the max, and in a very short period of time, my GPU just fizzled out on the monitor, the brand new Samsung monitor. I tell you what, I went into a bit of a panic. I thought, oh my goodness, what's going on? And what happened is that, number one, with Metasploit, got to be real careful with that. It's kind of like touch the stove, it's hot kind of thing. You're not going to do that again. But with Metasploit, I didn't realize the depth of how deep you could go so quickly. And for 3 hours, I swore that my flat was going to burn down because I was running so much power through the CPU, and then the GPU just couldn't take it anymore, and it just all fizzled out for 3 hours. It was up until now really like the scariest moment I've ever had. All of my learning was from ChatGPT. It really, really was. Chat suggested that I get a Windows computer as well, because that's industry standard really, and I did. And I thought to myself, when I'm unemployed, and probably a few of you out there are unemployed as well, and I just want to say that swapping things can be a really good idea, because that's what I did, and it turned out trumps for me really. I swapped my Rode NT microphone. It was €160, and I swapped it for a €55 Fujitsu computer running Windows 10 on eBay. And I said, I really need a computer, I haven't got any money, can you swap it? And this guy said, do you know what, I'd like to actually, I've always wanted to, just muck about with a Rode microphone. We do a straight swap. So I went to swap it, and you know what, one of the best decisions I've ever made. 3 times as much it was worth. And I got my computer, brought it home, and I thought to myself, I haven't got a keyboard for it, and I haven't got a monitor. What am I going to do? Looked on eBay, free monitor the next day, caught the first bus out in the morning, went to pick up it's a NEC monitor for free. And the guy said to me, I'll give you loads of different cables so you can connect it all. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's so cool. What I didn't realise is that only up to a few weeks ago, it actually all made sense when I knew what all the cables were doing, to be honest. Where are we up to? So I'm sitting here with two computers, Linux Ubuntu and Mac and Windows 10. Christmas Eve came around, and I think I was looking at Metasploit again. And if you've ever used Metasploit again, one of the most amazing things is the White Rabbit from The Matrix with Neo. And I've actually taken some screenshots of that. It's absolutely remarkable. I even sent it over to my kids and they were like, oh my goodness, this is so cool. And it was just so pixelated, it was just an amazing experience. So what's my learning style? 3 hours a day, every single day, without fail, and doesn't matter what it is. But it has to be pushing slowly towards SOC or SOC Analyst Tier 1. I learned the top 30 commands for Linux. Then I learned even more 30. So then another 30 commands from Linux. So what have we got? Netstat. I've been pinging the two computers via an Ethernet cable as well at the very early days. Really, it's interesting with minus TLMP. That's pretty good. And I just really kind of taken all of those commands into my brain. And between Christmas and over the last couple of months, really, I've written 300 notes. I've looked at all I've asked ChatGPT to test me, SOC Analyst Tier 1. So at about January time, ChatGPT gave me 300 questions to do with, oh goodness me, viruses, malware, rootkit, worms, Trojan horses, and I got them all right. Then I was doing some port testing, firewalls, particularly on Windows 10. I quite like that, actually. Outbound, inbound. Then it was DNS, HTTP, HTTPS. So I didn't realise the S is really for the secure part of it all. What else we've got? And all the other ports there. Really absolutely fascinating. And if you're listening out there, of course, this is my documentation to move from zero computer knowledge to getting a job as an SOC Tier 1 entry level junior analyst. I just fell in love with it. I just every single day fell in love with it a little bit more and more. I just wanted to find out what was going on. IPv4, IPv6. Then along came TCP, UDP, and looking at those, really where TCP is the more reliable than UDP. The TCP is fascinating. It's kind of like you're communicating like face to face with someone, but then UDP it's like shouting across a field. And got really deep into that. Also found that you can use RAW, RAW, so please put it in the comments if you do use RAW. I touched on that, but still don't completely fully understand that, but that's not a problem because I'm moving from theory to practical sessions now, which is great. Otherwise it's been a huge, great learning curve, and I've never looked back. 4.5 months came by and I thought I'm going to apply for some jobs, really. So I've had 5 interviews. I've been called from top cybersecurity in southern Germany. It was like, oh my goodness, what you're doing is really interesting, and we'd like to know more, really. And that was about 8 weeks ago now, because I'm starting my 7th month. Can you believe it? It's amazing. No prior computer knowledge, and look where I am now, really. An HR department phoned me up and said, hey, we got a job, let me look at my list. And I was like, okay. And she goes, oh, that's Tier 2 SOC or SOC, and I'm not giving you that job. I said, you know what, you don't need to, because I'm not at that level, And this wonderful lady, she said, I've seen your CV, and it needs to be adjusted. So just put some more about, last couple of jobs that you've worked, really. So I adjusted it and thanked her very much for her time. It was she declined, taking it further, really. But number one, what I found in IT, a couple of things, really. When I apply for jobs, it's either the same day or latest the second day that they get back to me and say, yes, you've either got an interview, we'd like to speak to you, or have been declined, really. And I find the communication style is so good on the whole. What else happened, really? The changing of the CV then went into my next interview. So there was a IT systems job that was going, and I thought to myself, okay, that's pretty good. I've been building up my lab anyway. I'm going to apply for it. And I walked in with, it was very cold that day. It was -20, and it's the only time in my whole entire life that I actually walked in with huge snow trousers and huge North Face boots on. And then from the waist upwards, I was wearing a nice t-shirt and a lovely jumper for the interview. So kind of like the weather people, when they sit, not the weather people, but the newscasters, they sit down and you never know whether they're wearing shorts or in their underwear or whatever, do you? But I was hot and cold. My legs were hot, my upper, torso was a bit fresh, really. It was odd, but I sat down and we clicked, and my interviewer said, actually, normally, and he gestured with his hand, with my resume in my hand, he said, normally I would put that into the bin. But this got me, I was curious, what's going on? And I told him exactly what I've just explained to you, all of you, really, that I've got, literally, having swapped everything I've ever had for items of electronics for starting my cybersecurity journey, because I've absolutely loved it. I think if I didn't connect with Python, I don't think I would have taken it further, but it clicked and I understood that in 4 days. I understood Windows 10 in 4 hours. Like, I got the whole gist of Windows 10 in 4 hours. It was brilliant. And the interview was great. Then I was invited to a second interview as well. And bear in mind, I live in Germany, and the first interview was completely fluent in German, and then the second interview was with the United States and with Germany at the same time, speaking English. So there's a lot going on when you're, number one, actually being invited to an interview for an IT job. It's really surreal. Of course it's going to be surreal. I haven't even got half a year's experience. This was 4.5 months in. And then the second interview, going from a German interview to an English interview, that's enough for anyone's capacity, really. But I managed to do it. And in the end, it just didn't work out, really. I got another company, huge airline, actually. Recently, I applied for them. This took 6 weeks, so it took a bit longer. So if any of you are considering going into IT and everything else, the application process can take a lot of time. And a wonderful, brilliant, absolutely brilliant aircraft company here in Germany. And they wrote back and said, actually, we're not interested. And then a week later they said, do you know what? We actually are really interested. And unfortunately, I got they said, we're going to be working through your application, sent everything off. Wonderful, wonderful company. Communications, absolutely spot on. It's like chef's kiss of spot on. So good. And if you any aircraft companies out there in Germany, please get in contact. I love to be SOC Tier 1 or SOC Tier 1 Junior in your cybersecurity division, because wow, impressive. impressive. So unfortunately, I didn't get that. Another couple of interviews as well. One email was like, "Okay, we really impressed. How much do you want to earn?" So and that started from 4.5 months really. So where are we up to now, really, with the little root lab? I've called it the little root lab because I wanted to make it a much more organic. I've moved now from theoretical knowledge to actually using all of that as a practical element now, and that's why it is a little root lab, really. I was thinking root from rootkit, but actually that doesn't have a very good connotation with it really. But more so, root is to do with or the organic nature of flowers and plants and stuff like that. And root is really what keeps me centered in IT, particularly cybersecurity. I absolutely love it. I really, really love it. And it's interesting that I haven't really stumbled across this area, and I'm not doing it because a family member of mine, their Gmail got hacked or whatever. There's no reason. There was no big plausible reason for me ever to enter IT, but I just have, and it just works. So the last couple of days, I ordered Ethernet cables and a TP-Link actually. For all of you that know about the TP-Link, really, I just got the normal version just because of financial issues, really, being unemployed, and soon I'd like to upgrade to a TP switch, which would be really good. But both computers are together, and this will be explained a little bit more in the next episode, and that's called Wazoo. I've successfully installed it onto Linux and this is how the command line works with my brain really, because it's systemctl status wazul minus manager, wazul minus, I always say integer, and then it's wazul minus what is it, display, I think it's display at the end. And that's me in a nutshell really. I think we're going to bring this in for a landing here, but all the commands, all the 300 pages of notes that I've written with all the Linux and Windows commands as well, I've really got it off pat in my brain, whether it's a sudo kill, which can, using sudo, using the bash, absolutely fascinating really. So now it's moving from theory into the practical nature, so that people, hopefully some of you out there like yourselves, can and just follow the thread that I've started from only 6 months ago now, with no prior computer knowledge, to actually being phoned up by cybersecurity companies, and airlines are talking. And I tell you what, it's for someone that's internally, motivated, and I only really need internal validation normally just to continue with self-learning and this homegrown nature that myself and many of you listening have probably got. But at some point we do like the external validation of actually landing a job. So yes, if you're interested, please get in contact with me via the comments, and you can write to me at simonjames893@gmail.com as well. And I hope you've enjoyed the episode really, and the next episode's going to be Waza. So I'm fully connected, having a few internet issues at the moment. I think one computer's connected and the one isn't, but we'll sort that out. And this podcast also doesn't just talk about the things that have happened really, really well, but also talk about the mistakes and the things that trip us up as well, because that's part of the journey as well. So thank you very much for listening to the first episode, and I'll catch you next time.